Good morning, everybody. It's early, not that early. I've been up about 3 hours. It's Robert T. Green, the CEO, pre-post game. Also known as a players up here to educate, empower, protect the athlete and family's best interests alone. Today is September 30th, 2018. I'm doing this live this morning of a public record. It's really hard for me to sleep last night, watching the events and occurrences of the Ncaa, and how these athletes and their families continue to be treated with such disrespect, such disdain for without them. This model, this business, this opportunity to generate trillions of dollars would not cease to exist. The mental and physical abuse that continues to befall these young men is catastrophic. And for me, as a former high school, collegiate, and pro athlete, I'll tell you that when I speak on these things, I don't just speak off of secondhand knowledge or he say, she say. I speak on firsthand experience. And when you sit back and why you think I'm up this time of morning having this type of conversation, because it's been on my mind. It's been on my mind for about 20 years. And when I was a kid, I wasn't strong enough to protect myself from someone, again, who, if you say that you love me, it's okay to put your hands on me. It's okay for you to call me out my name. It's okay to say that's going to build up your character. And in essence, when you talk about society today, whether it's a Me Too movement or anything else, everybody knows you don't put your hands on no kids. You don't beat a woman. But yet, when it comes to the NCAA, they find a way to pay or oversee these men who are cowards in itself, Jimbo Fisher being one, to pay them millions of dollars to mentally and physically control these men who literally, they don't even understand that half of them, physically, their bodies are being destroyed and opportunities to make billions be taken away from the lack of medical care, the lack of transparency regarding what their true intentions are for these actual young men. And it breaks my heart, but it's not just going to break my heart anymore, because I'm not going to sit back and sit there and watch. For all parents and athletes that's watching this video, if you going through this, have been through it, please like and share, because I do these things for you. But secondarily speaking, I'm going to start naming names. And if you're an athlete and you're on my actual feed and you are at some point in the NCAA, or not even the NCAA, or in college and high school, that you had a coach physically, and this goes male and female, a coach mentally and physically abuse you, please comment, or you can actually just send me the name and the place that where they were at that time. I know exactly what to do with that and with them. Now, again, my age being a grown man, if Jimbo Fish or any other coach has the wherewithal or that energy to take on or basically have a 18-year-old kid basically condone your actions, because once again, when you're the abused, you tend to actually support the actual abuser, because that's what you believe is love. Now, particularly when it comes to college sports, most of these young men go to school, and again, for the narrative to say that it's free education, that's an absolute lie. Most of these men believe that their actual ability to make it to the National Football League is through the actual coach and not the actual skill set. That's one of the biggest lies ever told to man when it comes to these kids. That's why parents tend to let these schools and coaches get away with putting their hands on these kids, or mentally, and I say physically, abusing them. But those times have to come to an end. Again, I've been speaking to some of my own attorneys, but attorneys that are friends of mine, in particular, child labor law scenarios, and at the same time, I'm seeing that all these things and all these athletes, all time generations that would actually go on. You obviously see what happened with Michigan State and Larry Nassar. You know what went on in Ohio State with the wrestlers. You know what went on with Penn State and Jerry Sandusky. Like I said, those are not isolated cases. Those are the ones that you know about that came to the forefront. But when, again, you got a guy like me that had the trash can thrown at, literally hit me, not thrown at, hit with, face mask pulled, choked, all in the name of free education, it's disgusting. I can promise you, though, the same men that basically attempted or did do what they did back then, they would not think to put their lips together to do any of the above now. And why is that? Because they no longer can make money off of me, for one, and two, the result will be completely different. So abuse is abuse. You can't talk about doing things the right way in character development. You paying somebody $75 million, turn around and can't keep their control together and then justify it. You disgusting. If I again, as my company moves forward into advising athletes down the road, I'm almost willing to start saying that we're going to start advising athletes to not even play their junior or senior years when they're draft eligible to go to the National Football League in particular, because we know how these actual so-called trainers that are certified to work with these schools, how they go about putting these guys on the field, and when they get injured, how their evaluations don't turn out to be exactly what they may be. And then you turn around and you have a kid say, well, I wouldn't change anything because for a fight song and a couple of gloves and some so-called ring, nothing comes to my attention right now. Just thinking about a guy named Jake Butt, who was a former first-round projected tight end for the University of Michigan, and that young man played in the bowl game with Michigan. He tore his ACL, and then from the first round, tearing his ACL, playing in that one bowl game for the hat and t-shirt, which, again, him being a kid not understanding economics and the business that he's in, he felt like, oh, I'm Superman, I can come back and do this again. So from a fifth round to first round, it's many millions of dollars that the young man lost. And now Jake Butt, who was a fifth round pick, just recently tore his other ACL with Denver Broncos last week. That's two. That's strike two. So the fact of the matter is, whatever opportunity that young man could have had for financial gains and for people to talk about free education, you have to be the dumbest person in the world to turn down multi-millions of dollars for a t-shirt or even a piece of paper with your name on it that says you're educated. Because if it says you're educated and you give up millions of dollars when you get that piece of paper, you're supposed to take that piece of paper to try to go make millions of dollars. When you have it and you give it away and you allow the people, again, to mentally and physically abuse. So that's what it is. So going all the way around, whether it's David Pollack trying to talk about what Kelly Bryant did and trying to disparage his decision for his best interest, when the commentator Todd Blackledge goes on TV, who's a commentator for ABC, who starts to chime in his personal thoughts and beliefs on a kid's situation, which he did not understand, is a disgrace. And me and my colleagues, we're going to start personally putting every single one of you guys under the spotlight. Because the fact of the matter is, without these kids and these families, Todd Blackledge, you ain't calling no games on ABC. David Pollack, without these kids, no one wants to hear your opinion about what they do in the scenario. There's no college game day without these kids. You should be mindful of that. Hear the passion of my voice as the sun comes up. Because I've been through this and I've seen this and it continues to happen. So how do you affect this change in this scenario? Two things: selling tickets and recruiting, and lawsuits. College is about education. Do not put your hands on any of these kids unless you want these kids to put their hands on you. And so for those of you parents that think that the NFL is looking at it as, oh, you know what, you should do that. Yeah, they don't like to see that happen, but guess what? Have you checked the NFL's track record lately? There's a few and far things if you're a talented guy that you can't do in the NFL, and they won't give you a job and pay you well to do so. All these coaches that got this so-called thought process about how they want to go about being this mentor and character development. If you feel so comfortable, so strong in your opinion, please hop in this box right now. Let's talk about it. I played the sport. I know the game. If you're going to be that tough for the 18-year-old when nobody's looking and parents aren't around, be that tough to come in as a grown man, as a former athlete, a former player, and a former coach, and address the situation at hand. Don't be that coward like Jimbo Fisher pulling an 18-year-old's face mask. Because if I was that kid, I don't care what my son says, well, he was right. Institutionalization doesn't mean you behind bars. It means between your ears. And we as a society have gotten to the point where now you can do anything you want to these actual kids and justify it in a name because you are making money off of them. Some of you are going to lose the opportunity to make money real soon. It is amazing to me that as many things that's going on in this business of sport that you more concerned about what Kelly Bryant did as a fifth-year senior when his coach decided to tell him that it's about the team after he 16-2 took them to a college football playoffs and then turn around and say, I'm going to start a freshman. And so he wants to transfer and you want to vilify him. ABC, ESPN. You disgusted. These kids don't need you. You need them. Because you know X's and O's like I do, don't make you an expert at anything. So keep your opinions to yourself and do your job. Because you don't believe the kids are going to say anything back to you, because you think the kids, for the most part, are looking to be on TV. That's why you can create the national letter of intent, ESPN spectacle, because at the end of the day, those kids and parents don't understand signing an NLI is the dumbest thing that they can do before starting to get their free education. But because you put 3 hats on a table, all of a sudden you're doing them a favor. Sports is not a game. Sports is all business. Mental and physical abuse is not a joke and not a game. I don't mind saying to people that know me, I was mentally, physically abused as a child. So therefore, when as a child, when I was mentally and physically abused, you as a coach in NCAA don't know my situation. You don't know me like that. You're not my parent. Don't put your hands on me. You don't know what the result might be. It may not turn out the way you think it is. And for those kids and athletes that went through it, where you were told things and called out your name, and someone put their hands on you, and you look back on your career and how it went through, we all can say to a man, it didn't make me a better person. That's a cop-out. What made me a better person is saying, you know what, this happened to me, and I didn't let it defeat me. But those same people that did it to me are the same ones that looked me in my face and tried to say it was out of love. That's not love. That's controlling. That's taking advantage of social, economic transgressions and fear. You say one thing when you come to these parents in their living room, to these kids in their face, and you go do something behind their back after you get their signature. There's nothing lower than that. It's called coercing, which is illegal to coerce. You coerce a child, that's illegal. Parents, athletes, if you sign a contract under duress, if you spent 7 months of recruiting and no one ever told you about what's going into this actual agreement they're asking you to sign, and then within 30 seconds they tell you to sign this and they standing over you, like they're going to beat you with a stick if you don't, that's under duress. Contact your attorney. Contact me. Contact us. All these different coaches making all this different money. And again, going back to Clemson yesterday, the decision that was made to start Trevor Lawrence, how did that work out? Now, what I saw yesterday watching the game, no, I didn't see anything that told me that Trevor Lawrence, again, for people that are writers, and there's plenty of them out there, so-called analysts who know nothing about the game that they're writing about, their best contribution to the game is basically being able to get close to the guy's job that they want to discuss. And they write the kid's name, good or bad, so they can get clicks. Part of the sports trafficking crew. People have been on this page and continue to be on this page, coaches, general managers, whoever you may be, athletes. Not one rebuttal about what's going on here, because you know what it is. But be man or woman enough to stand up on it and basically address the situation. You feel comfortable putting your hands on a kid. You feel like it's some type of reason why you can tell a kid whatever you want to tell him, lie to his face, and then when he holds you accountable for it, then he's in the wrong. Man up and say it. Man up and say it. But that's okay. You don't have to man up and say it, because we know you won't. That's what my company is here for. When you lose that top recruit and that 5-star, understand why. You're looking at it. NCAA, the many things that you oversee or overlook or ignore. Having kids cost of attendance stipend not going directly to the kid, being taken away to go to certain schools' weight program and training supplements. You know about that? NCAA. Some of these grades, how some of these kids are getting into school academically. How did they actually get in? Some of these people and these coaches on these so-called support staff. You check into that? So that free education you giving. If you check the records, the admissions essays, are they legit? NCAA. coercing kids, telling them that they're going to be on full scholarship through your coaches and universities, not just Division I, not just the Power 5, HBCUs included. You got kids signing up for loans, telling them it's scholarships, making kids basically be required to pay a loan back for something they didn't understand when you talking about in-state, out-of-state tuition, so that school could pocket that money. As I said, physical, emotional abuse. Kids, athletes, NCAA, when your coach don't want you to be anymore and you're a running back, he wants you to quit and give up his scholarship and tell the world it was your decision. So they ran 29 toss or 21 toss 5 times in a row on the defense so you can get hit in the head and get a concussion. So the trainer can say, oh, it was okay, it wasn't really a concussion. Check the records, NCAA. That's also abuse, because you allow 10 people with helmets on to hit one kid because you don't like the fact that kid told his mom that you're putting him in bad situations. NCAA, where you at? Mark Emmert, we gonna meet soon. You may not know me, but I know you. You're not qualified to be in the role that you in right now. Not even close. And that Knights commission you got, it should have went out of business with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. Sports is not a game. Sports is all business. Sick and tired of people making excuses for why they can make billions and trillions of dollars off these athletes and their families. And these athletes and families, when it came to 1906 when it was established, you haven't asked them one question about what they want, what they need, or what can be better. You do not care. So don't tell me you love them. I don't want to hear another Dabo Sweeney Bible quote or scripture about anything. Team was 3-0. Team, you started Trevor Lawrence against Texas A&M. Team, Kelly Bryant came in and saved you. Team, you wanted to move in Trevor Lawrence so now he can look good playing the next 5 games of a cupcake schedule to make it look like you're some great coach. Team, you got 23 and 24-year-olds who could have been NFL players last year, highly paid, coming back to school, somewhat graduates that graduated already. That is selfish. It ain't Kelly Bryant who's selfish. It's Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban who is selfish. Have you checked the roster, age of Nick Saban's roster? Why are you trying to say he's the best coach ever? When I'm a senior in high school playing against a freshman, I should be the best person and player on the team. I should be. That's what bullies do. If I'm a senior and I'm picking on a 9th grader, that's a bully. That don't make me better than anybody else. But y'all don't want to ask those questions because he's too busy want to roll tide. How's that working out? And again, I'm not mad at the athletes that came before me because I was one of those athletes that would never say what happened to me and how it really goes. Because again, as a pride thing, as a kid that didn't know how this stuff really worked, you felt like at the end of the day, just like the whole situation about coming out and speaking on things. The abuse situation in the United States government is no different than what goes on in the NCAA. Parents, you giving all these people, you don't know the title coach. You don't have no idea what they can or would do to your children to soon to become men. I'm talking about mentally, physically, sexually, emotionally. It's on you. And so for the hopes and dreams that you believe that your kid's going to play in the NBA or Major League Baseball, the NFL, you got to understand how this business works. They plotting on you the moment that your kid can run. You become a pro athlete the moment someone's willing to pay to watch your kid play, because not every decision that you make is being directed by someone who's looking to make money off of you and them, regardless if it destroys you emotionally. So for you guys to know and understand, this is not isolated. We're talking SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, and also independent, major conference football. We're talking HBCU 1AA, mid-major 1A. You're ruining these kids' lives, NCAA. You can't even talk about degree. Degrees mean nothing without jobs. Any person in America could tell you that. They all tell you the same thing. Oh, I went and got this degree, that degree, that degree, yet I can't get a job. I'm in debt with student loans for 10, 15 years. I'm working to pay back my student loan, the debt that I incurred. Well, that's someone that has went to the school. These athletes aren't getting degrees with no jobs, have broken bodies and minds, and at the same time, you paying people $75, $85 million, $7, $8 million a year. And you gonna put your hands on me too? Here's a little secret. When they put their hands on me back when, they picked the wrong one. As I said, I was already a physically abused child. Now, for people who don't know, the best athletes are the ones that are mentally and physically abused the most. And this is the reason. This is what coaches do. Like anything else, institutionalization. Whether you're in jail and it's the warden, and you have the COs, and you find the biggest, baddest guy in the prison, and then you basically go make an example out of him to scare the rest of them to fall in line, because that big guy is the one that basically controls the rest of them. NCAA call it head coach, assistant coaches, wardens, COs. Then you get the best athlete out there, then you talk about him like a dog. You embarrass him in front of his teammates because now you know the rest of them are going to fall in line. That's not character development. That's not love. That's not anything. That's abuse. But once again, with these same men, if they wasn't coaching these great athletes who are only there to try to make their lives better, what else would they be doing? What else are they qualified to do? Jimbo Fisher is not qualified to put his hands on somebody's kid. He's barely qualified to do X's and O's. Check his record. Jimbo Fisher is the same man that coached Jameis Winston, who ended up in trouble for sexual assault that Florida State covered up. The same man that coached Jameis Winston, who didn't understand it wasn't good to steal crab legs out of a supermarket. The same man that basically took another job and got mad when fans got bad on him because he was playing so bad, and he went, and the first thing after he said team, took a job for $75 million. But now everybody want to talk bad about Kelly Bryant, a fifth-year senior, who, if people say he couldn't play quarterback, then he shouldn't have played quarterback 5 years ago. He shouldn't have helped with Taj Boyd and Deshaun Watson, helped get Dabo Swinney $56 million. Good morning, Mr. Haynes. I'm just speaking on behalf of the athletes and the families about these NCAA and these coaches. The lies that they tell. Justify it as love, character development. Making decisions about your kids without you actually having any idea what the decisions are. Backing a kid into a corner, telling a kid he's going to be drafted in the 5th round when he could have been drafted in the 2nd round. Stopping his ability to make money for himself and his family because it's something he don't know and understand. For their own selfish best interest. And then when that kid get hurt, they want to say, next man up. Again, my name is Robert T. Green. I'm the CEO of Pre-Post Game. I'm also known as a Players Rep, and I'm here doing this podcast live early in the morning, addressing the NCAA for what it is. David Pollack, keep these kids' names out your mouth. Your opinion is not necessary. Stick to X's and O's. If a kid wants to transfer, it ain't your business to hate the rule. You don't know what the rule is. Again, it's a blessing that you got a job after the fact when you got hurt. Stay in your lane. Jimbo Fisher, you a coach of Texas A&M University. Don't put your hands on somebody's kids. And then that kid going to save your butt by saying he did the right thing. He's a kid. He don't know any better. It's no different than any other abused, emotional, and physical victim that sits back and said that, oh, he did it because he loved me. Stay in your lane, Jimbo. Because I'm going to take this video, I'm going to send it to every recruit going to Texas A&M in the next 3 years from now. And explain to them possibly why you don't need to have anything to do with their kid and how the ramifications could be. NCAA. All these things I continue to keep talking about that you sweep under the rug because you think you don't know. This is public record. I ain't worried. This is for life. When I'm dead and gone, this is still going to be here. Who else is going to be here is going to be lawyers. Coercion and signing things under duress is illegal. I repeat, coercion and being forced to sign documents under duress is illegal. Athletes, I strongly advise you, do not sign anything at any level without someone helping you understand what you're signing, how that benefits you, and someone that literally, legally can protect you once you put your pen to paper. And I don't care what coach says what. I don't care what they say behind the scenes. And if that coach tells you, again, that's what the rest means, that you must, please, send me their name. They right here, right now on this actual video. They all on my Facebook feed. They all watch. They go post things. Ballers right now doing a whole show or series, if you will, from my understanding, off of all the things that I'm talking about. They haven't called me, but that's okay. They'll watch the video and talk about it. Any coach on this, any parent on this, any athlete on this, that if I am speaking something wrong that has not happened, please correct me. Tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Tell me I haven't been there. Tell me I'm not speaking the exact truth. Tell me what I'm saying is fabricated lies. Tell me what I'm saying is exaggeration. Tell me what I'm saying hasn't caused mental and physical and emotional anguish with you and your family. Tell me how some of these kids and families based off the same university they went to have not broken up because of the lies between the agents and the school and their actual conflict of interest, where they got people that's running around trafficking these kids left and right without being known by the parent. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me all these youth coaches, they call themselves mentors, that only show up to take a picture when the kid is playing a sport. Tell me when they're yelling at a 7-year-old when he's not making the right cut, that it's okay to talk to him like a grown man, like he stole something. Tell me it's okay. Tell me, because when he finished yelling at that 7-year-old kid, that this guy who calls himself a mentor ain't going back to the same 12-hour job, doing the same thing, taking the same plastic trophy to the same Applebee's and trying to brag to his friends about how great a coach is. Tell me I'm wrong. You won't. Because that guy, that same one, is probably driving your kid's school bus right now, and the only glory he get is living through your 7-year-old child. He's not qualified to be a coach. We need to figure out what that actually means. Parents and athletes, we need to know what the term coach means. You don't understand what the term recruit means, so you don't get caught in the same situation as I'm speaking of now. As the sun rises on this beautiful Sunday morning, as I drive with my paid-for vehicle, with my health and strength, with my wits about myself, as I go back to my home that I own, not because of the degree I got in NCAA, because of the wits that I had to know that I am more than an athlete, and that I'm not defined by what those coaches and what those people or what my own family did to me physically or emotionally when I was a child. And that I can do anything I put my mind to as long as I understand and recognize what options I have and making the best interest for me in my life. I am not here, you are not here to make life good for Jimbo Fisher and help put his kids through school. You are not here to make Teddy, what's this guy's name? David Pollock happy with your decision about what you do with your opportunity to go to the next level. You are not here to say, hey, Dabo Swinney, I'm 24 years old. You know the NFL looking for cheap labor, and I'm already 23 going on 24. If I come back to school for another year, I'm jeopardizing being a top 10 pick, but I'm going to come back one more year so I can end up in the second round. That's real smart. Dabo Swinney did that. So that's what coaches want. You want to move on. Coaches want to move on when they don't like to address the fact, or when they look stupid and make a huge mistake. I'm only focusing on the ones that here. It's called coach speak. Control what you can control. That's the point. You can't control anything. These are human beings. Do your job. Call your X's and O's. Keep your feelings and your thoughts and your personal attacks on these kids to yourself. Unless you're ready to have them come back to you. Ty Blackledge, David Pollock, Jimbo Fisher. This is to name a few right now. NCAA. This whole setup since 1906. And if we know from an African American standpoint how 1906 was in this country, it is a disgrace what the NCAA claims itself to be doing. And the only reason why it continues to be the way it is has only one reason. The athletes and the parents who don't know what's going on. Too busy focusing on the turnover chain, turnover book bag. That's really educational. Turnover crown. Oh, it's about fun. So then when the kid have fun, you more worried about suspending the kid for sneakers that they sell NCAA versus a grown man snatching the kid up by his face. You more concerned about that NCAA than the kid being put into long-term debt because of what he didn't understand what the coach said. But you're more concerned about sneakers being sold NCAA. Not like you're not selling the players back and forth, right? It's not like these schools, when they take these kids' pictures and image and likeness called intellectual property, and they turn around and put some type of jeweler sponsored by or brought to you by or whatever. You ain't looking at that. It's not okay that it's okay that you basically allow a school to a booster to pay $800,000 to send a trip abroad somewhere where he didn't ask to go, and in return have that same school give that person $102 million under a 501c3. Yeah, I'm a little perturbed this morning. Facebook. Notice I didn't say Facebook family because it's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to make friends. Sports is not a game. Sports is all business. Change is coming. But the difference is it's not going to be a situation in NCAA where you can sit back and say or have plausible deniability that you don't understand what's going on. This is going to be downloaded. It's going to be put out for public record again. You can scrutinize. You can ask questions. If you really want to know, you can't NCAA, give me a call. I'll take you right where it's. You still believe that this only basketball where these kids are getting paid or where these coaches are offering kids money to come to their school? Is that what you believe? I'm telling you it's not. Do you care? Or only do you care when the FBI gets involved? Because that's taxpayers' money going somewhere else that's not being taxed. Anybody know how Rick Pitino doing right now? He needs some company. I have no remorse, no concern about any of these so-called coaches that literally made hundreds of millions of dollars off of every athlete's opportunity. But yet that same athlete's opportunity a lot of times gets misused, misguided, and abused because what they don't know, what they don't understand, and what they fear. And we're going to do something about it. So, recap. My name is Robert T. Green, the CEO of Pre-Post Game. And we're talking about this past weekend's events under the NCAA. Thoughts and prayers and condolences to the young man, Mr. Sims, who died tragically, an LSU basketball player, in LSU in a subway right across the street from the campus. You don't think all the money you make at LSU you guys can secure where these athletes will be at? They don't have to have a phone call to their parents to say my 20-year-old son died. Like I said, an institution, it's not about physical bars, it's about mental bars. For more information on what we're talking about, if you need consulting, advising, we're a sports management advisory firm. Also focus on transition succession planning for athletes. You can check us out at prepostgame.com. You can follow me at the Players Rep 1 on Twitter, Players Rep 1 on Instagram. Like I said, athletes, if there's a coach that physically, mentally abused you at some point in your career, please either put it in the comment section sending me to the inbox. If you don't want your name to be known, that's completely fine with me. Like I said, everything I said today, I speak on behalf of the actual athlete and the actual family. I'm going to put up a nice little post picture pertaining to how some of the families feel about David Pollock, how some of the families feel about some of these universities, and how some of these families feel about some of these schools. So the next recruit and family can know and take into really strong consideration what they should do for their best interest. If that's not enough, need consultation, like I said, you can contact us at prepostgame.com, set up a consultation. And we'll tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. Again, you guys be well. God bless. Have a great Sunday.